Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Sarath, and every single episode, I bring on a comic from and I branch out. And so you'll see more comics from the Pacific and the Eastern and so forth. And so without further ado, welcome to the stage, Sandy. Hey, Sandy, how are you?
Hello. Good. How
Let's
are
see, there we are.
you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Oh my God, thanks so much for
Awesome.
having
Sometimes I
me
have like
on.
technical issues and oh, you're welcome. It
Hopefully.
means a lot, and it's so. So it's pretty awesome. You're from Chicago, and what was it like before the pandemic hit and your comedy journey was like in Chicago?
It was so fun. I feel like Chicago is such an amazing place. There's so many venues and there's so many different kinds of comedy going on every single night of the week, like at all times. And so I felt like so spoiled. And it was such a really great opportunity. Like if you wanted to mic multiple times in a night, like you could. Like you'd have to kind of hop around, but you could do it. And I feel like that was really cool. Also, like there were a lot of different opportunities to like hold mics and run shows, and like you could be as creative as you wanted to. And I feel like the community was really supportive, and also there were ways that you could do that. So I'm super thankful for Chicago comedy scene. I actually started like all my friends took a comedy class, and then so that's kind of how I started getting into it. But after going to a few mics, like it was so nerve wracking, but also so fun, and so I just like really stuck with it, and it kind of just started to become its own thing, and just started getting to do more time and to work in different kinds of rooms and stuff. It was really cool.
Awesome. That's what I wish I could have experienced living in like in a big city, just seeing like doing multiple mics in one night. That's
Yeah.
like every night would be so rad. I would just fall in love with the city. Yeah, and
I
getting to
feel
know
like
the city too would be awesome just to see.
it's super fun. I feel like now there are so many other opportunities to do virtual mics, like so you probably could do multiple ones in a night. So that is kind of like a cool thing that like, as a result of the pandemic, there's more virtual stuff too. So it's cool.
Indeed, and you're newly
Yeah.
transplanted in California. Have you tried the performing yet in the California scene?
No, actually, I'm like so bummed. So, like when the pandemic first started about a year ago, I was kind of like in a spot where I was like, I don't know if I should be like outperforming, just because I didn't know if I felt like really safe doing it. And then I moved to California to be close to my family. So now it's like I feel a little hesitant to be meeting new people and to be, adventuring out a lot. So I haven't really been doing too many things here yet. Um, and it's kind of tough because, like, before the lockdowns and everything started, I had been working on a solo show for like 9 months. So like when everything started getting shut down, like I kind of had to walk away from that because I just didn't see it happening the way I had envisioned it. So that's kind of like a project that I've had to put on hold. So I'm kind of hoping that like once I'm able to get vaccinated and like, things kind of settle down a bit, I can start going out to different mics and different shows and checking out, what the city has to offer. So yeah.
Indeed, and like Florida is like that. Like I haven't gotten vaccinated, but I felt like I don't have COVID. I promise. But like uh, I felt the same way. Like the venues are opening up here now, and there's like comedy shows, and it's like, oh man. But
Yeah.
it's pretty scary. But like you, I was putting together like my one person show, and I tried to do it during the pandemic, and no one showed up. So I'm like, Oh well, but the good news on the flip side, like the silver lining was it got picked up by the Orlando Fringe, so
Oh,
now it's like
cool.
it'll be
Congrats.
premiering at the Orlando Fringe, so in May. So I'm pretty excited. So I only
That's
did
so
one dress rehearsal,
awesome.
so
That's so
yeah,
cool.
I'm pretty excited. I thought I was gonna get like 90 minutes out of it, but I got 60 minutes, and I'm like 60 minutes is good enough for me. So
That's really good. Yeah. I think, yeah, there was like
and
another comedy festival that I got into that got postponed too to next year or this year. So I don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to get postponed again or not. But I was really super excited to do that too. So it's kind of a weird time
indeed,
adjusting.
which festival did you get into?
It was the one, I think it's Cream City in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So yeah, I was like super excited. And then I was like a little bummed that, oh no, it got postponed. And like, if they have it this year, I still want to go. But then also, it's like, what if I'm a little hesitant to travel? I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe they'll move it to like a different time of the year next year. But I would love to go.
Indeed, that's what bites about
Yeah.
COVID. Is like I hope they don't push any more. But if they have to, they have to. And the virtual
Yeah.
ones, I tried some of those virtual ones and the festivals, and they're just like, it's just the same. But because like the
Yeah,
delay of
it's
laughter just
different.
throws me off, and I'm like, yep, indeed. So you
Also, it's
practice
like,
kung fu too, and
oh, yeah.
but you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I did practice kung fu. It's been about 2 years. I feel like I have a lot of different interests. I have a lot of different interests and have a lot of different hobbies. So yeah,
Indeed, as long as you can express yourself in many ways, it's fantastic. That's what life's all about.
yeah, it's kung fu is really cool. It's a lot about energy and kind of like how you walk through life. And I feel like it's had a direct impact and how I communicate with others and how I approach life in general. So super thankful to Kung Fu and the community there too. Yeah.
Awesome, fantastic. And so you also teach time travel. So tell me more about
So
that.
yeah, I have this theory that we all have the ability to time travel. And it's kind of like if you take time to be present, and then also if you take the time to learn to love something, whether it's yourself or someone else or a place or a thing, and then if you're able to visualize what kind of things you want in the future or what kind of feelings you'd like to experience in the future, or it could be from the past. I feel like that's kind of a method of time travel. So I feel like everyone has the ability to do it. We just all kind of forget. And I think it's also a really great key to being able to visualize and make your ideal future come true. So, yeah.
Indeed. I'm a firm believer too. Like when I lived out in LA, I was a concert journalist. And
Yeah. Oh,
so
cool.
I would get paid to go to concerts. And I was like, man, I never have to spend money on tickets ever again. It was fantastic. And like I felt like my time machine broke because I went and saw UFO perform at the Key Club when it was open.
Uh-huh.
And they're from like the 60s. And then I got to see the Doors perform without Jim Morrison at the House of Blues when that was still open. And I was
That's
like,
so
oh no,
cool.
indeed. I was like, man, my time machine broke. But it was like, it's all about time traveling. It's like, I didn't expect to cover these bands from like the 60s at all. It was pretty
Yeah.
rad. So,
That's so cool. Yeah, I feel like also like everyone has the ability to do it. We all kind of forget. And yeah. Oh,
indeed. It's worth looking into for sure. And you can
yeah.
also you do taxes too,
I
so don't report
do.
me to the IRS.
I will.
So what
But I
got
feel
you
like
into doing taxes?
actually, I went to school for accounting. And so this is like the next step. I feel like every time I talk about doing taxes, people think that it means that I'm gonna, report them to the IRS and get them in trouble and make them get audited. And I'm like, no, that is not at all what I do. But yeah, I try to do like a yearly PSA, and I am like a firm believer of like, are like a really big pain point for people. But I really do believe that, everyone should be able to get the money that they have already earned, and that they're knowledgeable and that they have the resources to be able to claim everything that they can, and so that they get a fair share of their taxes back. So I always do like a yearly PSA, like, don't spend money to do taxes. If you can do it by yourself, I want to empower people to be able to do it by themselves. And there's a lot of new tech stuff this year.
Indeed. I usually have like my dad's accountant handle all my taxes because I'm just like, whenever I had to do like the W-2s and all those forms, I was just so confused. I was like, this is such foreign language to me. I don't know what to do or check anything. So, but I had him all handle it, and he was great at all that stuff. So,
It's nice when you
and,
have a hookup. Yeah, I agree. I
indeed,
agree.
most definitely. It's just the language is so foreign. I'm just like, oh,
It is. It is definitely, it's always kind of set up a certain kind of way. But once you get comfortable, yeah.
indeed, most definitely. So,
Yeah.
for our episode, we're raising funds for the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, which is scrolling on the bottom and in the description box below. And
Yep.
why did you pick Find Folks to raise funds for?
So that's an organization that I've donated to in the past, and I really like their mission. Um, I especially think that in our country, if you're an immigrant or a refugee, sometimes their rights are not respected and infringed upon. And especially legally, there's a lot of times where they don't get the benefits and the resources that they need, that they deserve. And so I thought that this organization has been doing a lot as a result of like COVID, and also like in general to ensure that immigrants and refugees have a voice. So that's the group that I picked for today.
Awesome, fantastic.
Yeah.
And my parents are first. They escaped the Khmer Rouge back in the '80s or the '70s, so it's like I'm so happy that you chose this to raise funds for with this episode. So it hit home
Yeah.
for sure. So indeed. Awesome. So, Sandy, for this next portion, is the questions I wanted to ask it because I wanted to
Okay.
go on tour so bad before the COVID hit. So, with
Uh-huh.
that being said, Sandy, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
I was always really chatty. And I do love being on a stage. Since I was really young, I really like dance and stuff. But for a really long time, I didn't really say how I felt or what I thought, and so there was a long period of kind of like silencing myself. So the thing I really did love about stand up is, you get to be in front of people and you get to creatively express yourself however it comes out. And whether you like kill or you bomb, like it's part of it. So you just have to accept that. And I think um, it's been so freeing and so much fun to just be up on a stage and just express myself um, in ways that, you know, are just so much fun. And also, like, I've met so many really cool people from it. And it's been such a really great experience so far. Yeah.
Absolutely. I I'm a firm believer in trusting the process, and whether you murder on stage or you bomb on stage, there's always a great story from each side of the coin.
Yeah.
So,
You
what
know, the
was
one thing,
feeling?
okay.
Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, some of the times that I've like bombed, like those were traumatizing. Like I still think about that sometimes. And the thing is, like, even with those times, like I still miss it so much because, like, you know, it's not like the best memory, but then it's like it's not like I died, like I'm here. like it only makes you tougher. It only makes you a better, comic. So, you have to look back and, learn something from those moments. Like, oh, maybe I could do this next time, or, it's like a constant thing of improving. So I think that's really cool.
Indeed, most definitely. And what was it feeling like when you first performed stand up?
The feeling.
Yep.
Oh, okay. The feeling, let's see. So sweaty. So much sweating. I needed a lot of deodorant. Just because it was like really nerve wracking. Because especially if you're not used to sharing your opinion about anything in front of a group of people, and there's the possibility of judgment. But then I gotta say, like, you kind of like face that fear and you keep facing it, and then it kind of lessens. And so I think it's also really great in building confidence. Like, like some people are not going to understand my joke or my premise, and that's okay. And I'm still going to do it and say it. So just getting more confidence. But it was so sweaty. Sometimes I just black out. I don't know if you had this. You get on stage and you say some things, and then like you get off and you're like, I don't remember what I said. Sometimes it just happens. But it's definitely a rush. There's definitely a rush of being on stage.
Indeed, most definitely.
Yeah.
And what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
So I gotta say, like I was thinking about this. I remember when I was in school watching Eddie Murphy. And then also watching a lot of Russell Peters. So just even before I knew that I, wanted to do stand up, I was kind of like watching a lot of it. I gotta say the Ali Wong special, Baby Cobra, like that one was almost like really eye opening and inspiring to see like a Asian woman doing so many different kinds of themes and topics. And also, I was reading this article about how she literally layered her whole set list and the actual structure of how she timed all her jokes and the order, and then how she just layered it. And I think that was really cool and like really beautiful how she did it, and also like the payoffs like toward the end, like you couldn't breathe like that. Like she's really talented. So those are the ones that stick out in my mind. Yeah.
Indeed, most definitely. And some of those folks have been on TV and film, and I want to know what your favorite sitcom, sketch shows, and comedy films are.
Oh, I really loved Astronomy Club. Have you watched Astronomy Club?
Not yet, but I should though because I love
It's so good.
astronomy.
It's a sketch show, and it's on Netflix. I'm really bummed that they haven't done a second season, but it was so funny. I really liked Black Lady Sketch Show. I love Insecure. Um, I also like grew up watching a lot of like Mad TV and In Living Color. So my sense of humor is like a little weird, raunchy sometimes. Um, and I also, growing up, we used to watch like Korean comedy shows. So we call them gag shows. And it's kind of like SNL, but then it's definitely Korean humor. So it's a little bit different just in, the way that they talk about topics and the way they present jokes and stuff. It's different. So yeah, those are a couple of the shows that I'm really obsessed with.
Awesome. And favorite
Yeah.
comedy films?
Favorite comedy films? I just rewatched like Groundhog Day yesterday, and it's like coming up in my mind just because like it. I like when movies are like genuine and have just like a unexpectedly like funny moment, and then I think those are like even more surprising and even more fun. So that let's see what else. I rewatched a lot of Jim Carrey movies recently, and it's still pretty funny. His ability to do physical humor and like expressions like with his face is just so talented. And yeah, I wish I could get to that level. Like, so yeah, those are the only ones I can think of right now.
Indeed. I love the way his face moves. It's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. And just the way he moves his body too. He just moves his body in like just like uncomfortable looking, funny ways. Like, yeah, I didn't know your body could move like that or make that position with it. Like he's so talented. Yeah.
Indeed, most definitely. And if you can go on tour with any comedian, locally and internationally known, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
Um, oh, like okay, so like dream wise, like Ali Wong, that would be so cool. Also, it's Kevin, I forget what his last name, Kevin CA. He's really funny. And Shane Wang, also hilarious. His voice is like amazing. He's this really low. He's this Asian guy, has this really low, deep voice. He was touring with Ali Wong, and I thought he was really hilarious. Um, Local comedians, Chicago comedians, I gotta do my shout outs. So Jess Martinez, Janice Rodriguez, Chris Santiago. He's does a lot of really cool art and really amazing comedy too. Becca Tam, she does amazing, really cool like alt music, improv and stand up, really cool. Maddie Silverstein. So she was from Chicago. I met her in Chicago. She moved out to LA. She's always doing really cool projects. Love her. And I'm Pratik Srivastava. So a lot of hard names.
Indeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've gotten a lot of requests for Pratik, and I hope to
Yeah.
view him soon. And I spoke with Chris Santiago with another interview
Yeah.
series with the stand up speakeasy, and it was like
Yeah.
3 hours long. I'm like, wow, he has so much information. It was fantastic.
He's so talented, and he had like a series where he was photographing comedians, and just like the pieces that came out of that series, so cool. Like I have them in all my dating profiles. Like so cool. Like I'm never gonna get rid of them. Always gonna post them. But yeah, he's super talented, and he's so hilarious too. Like yeah, so talented.
Indeed, most definitely. And if you can get roasted by 5 comedians, past and present, which comedians would you like to get roasted by?
I don't know. Okay, I will confess, like sometimes when I get roasted, I don't know how to react. Like it's not right because it's like a yeah. Or sometimes you get really butthurt and then you can't show it. Right? So, I don't know. I think no matter who, I would be trying really hard not to cry. So anyone, but really try to stifle those cries then. So I don't have a good answer to that question.
Most definitely. My very first comedy show ever was my roast because I chose it to be my roast. I was like, baptize me in fire. And I just had all my friends just roast me. And it was like the best experience ever. I was like, man, I didn't know you guys felt that way about me, but I'm glad you guys are just letting it all out. That's fantastic.
Also, I gotta say, like, okay, if you grew up with Asian parents, like, there's no hello. You just get immediately roasted. So, like, every time I get roasted too, I'm like, okay, my mom could have said something like really mean in like a second. So, like, are you really trying hard?
Indeed. My
And
parents are
that's
the
how they
same
love
way.
you. That's how they love you.
Yep. It's like, pick up your pants, son. You know better than this. And they just go after me. It's like, I. The good thing is,
That's
like, I
their
learned
love
all my,
language.
like, yep. And if it wasn't for my mom, like I would not have like a raunchy sense of humor, and that's where I get my raunchy sense of humor that I say on stage is because of her. It's like she has no filter, so it's like it's fantastic.
Isn't that so cool that, well, my parents, their first language isn't English, but like, I think it's really cool that I kind of translate. Like, so my dad is like really into like puns and like kind of like wordplay. And then my mom's sense of humor is more like physical, like humor or like kind of like situational humor. So it's really cool that, oh, I've also adapted those different senses of humor and styles like into like how I like to joke around, even though it might not be in the same language. So I think that that's kind of cool that it kind of crosses language barriers, and still works. So yeah, thanks to the
Indeed. And they always
parents.
like most definitely. I invited them to my very like one of my very first shows in Florida, and they're like, "We just don't get it, but we will totally support you." So it's like
That's
fantastic.
amazing.
That's all I
Yeah.
need. So
I know. I think my mom watched a clip one time and she was like, I don't know what you're saying, but and
yep,
like honestly, I'm kind of glad because I don't need them to Google Translate my set.
most definitely. I'm glad like the
I'm
bar
cool.
that was once our goal to be doctors and lawyers are now lowered to comedians. That's fantastic. No
Lowered
more pressure. Thank
expectations. Yes. Let's lower
goodness.
these expectations.
Indeed, most definitely.
Yeah.
What do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
Man, that's like so hard to gauge. I mean, especially just because, like, before the pandemic, I was like doing fests and like kind of like thinking of different, shows that I want to do and produce and create. And so now it's kind of like really hard to gauge. But I think there are definitely like show ideas and projects that I have in the back of my mind. And whether it's done in a virtual setting or in like real life setting, I think I will probably start those soon. I feel really inspired actually by this opportunity because this is so cool. And, this is something that I would love to do too. And like, so that's so awesome that you're creating in the midst of a pandemic in a situation where it's actually really hard to meet other comics. So, it's only shows you that, there's not really any limitations. There's a lot of possibilities. So, the thing also I love about Ali Wong is she has so many different kinds of projects, right? So like I sometimes do write scripts, so I would like to pursue that a little bit. I would like to get a little bit better at, like improv skills, acting skills. I think it would only help my stand up. So yeah, there's a couple different ideas and a couple different, maybe even if um, the scene in stand up right now is a little bit tough, I think there's other ways that I can like improve, so that when it does come back full force, like I'm ready. Yeah. So I don't know. 5 years
Indeed,
out,
and
it's
thank you.
hard to guess, right? But yeah, that's for now.
Indeed, and thank you for the kind words. And that's what I was like hoping for. This platform is like to help, get more social media followers for you. Because like those comedy clubs, they
Yeah.
look for this kind of stuff and raise
Yeah.
funds for you and your favorite charities. Because I'm like, what else am I gonna do in the pandemic? I got to do something. Because I'm afraid to go outside and like do stand up because of the like no one wears masks in Florida, so it's like,
Yeah, it's
man, you
very
guys are all
different.
crazy. Yeah, big time. So I'm just like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm in. Like I was in the middle of like recording an album in the pandemic, and it was going so well, and then I got sick, and like I started coughing, and I'm like, maybe it's not a good idea to finish this at this moment. So I'll just wait a few. I can always go back to the album and add more to it later. So
Yeah. I think it's
indeed,
tough because it's like, if I was just on my own, like then I probably would take more risks. But right now, just like I'm seeing family a lot. So I don't know if that's really fair to them. So for right now, I'm just gonna put things on pause. But also I'm like, for me, it's different for everybody, but me taking like a year or two, I find other ways to be creative. So it's still okay. But for other people, like it's a different story. So I totally understand, like, if this is how you make money and this is something that you're passionate about and that you have to go out and do, like, I understand that too. But for me, I think right now it's just kind of like a little hold, little pause.
Indeed. And you
Yeah.
answered my next question, which was like, which other forms of comedy would I venture off into? So your next steps are improv and comedy writing and script writing and stuff. So,
Yeah, everything. I
great.
want to try everything.
Indeed. That's the best way is just to jump right into all that stuff. So it's like
I
never stop
yeah.
learning.
I've done a little bit of all of them, but I feel like it's like cross training, right? Like the skills transfer over. If you have improv skills and you know how to handle a heckler better and like you know how to be in the moment better and you're not just listing off your jokes and you're listening to the audience. So I only think that you can only be better by expanding your skill set.
Indeed, most definitely. I've seen like the best and the worst of people handling hecklers, and I'm like, and I learned from the ones that can handle them pretty well, and I'm like, just brush them off and just like carry on and don't feed the trolls, and everything will be just fine. So it's like I learned so
Yeah,
much from like those that can handle hecklers well. So, but the
there's
ones
a
that
finesse. Yeah.
yeah, just let it roll off your shoulders, like dirt off your shoulders, like Jay-Z says. So.
Yeah.
Indeed. And what's your
Yeah.
favorite joke a comic has written?
Um, okay, so my friend Jess, I don't want to spoil the joke, but like she has one about like fuck me shoes that makes me laugh every single time. So yeah. Go to Jess
And
Martinez and ask her to tell you the joke. But I
absolutely,
love
I'll
it.
have to.
Yeah.
And like, I plan on going to Chicago in October because I got selected
Oh,
for a
cool.
festival, and I'm gonna go see Candyman and the reimagining of Candyman. So I want to make it my
Cool.
whole trip, and so hopefully I'll see Jess perform those shoes jokes. So
Yes.
should be
I
fun.
also, I will say like, I love any type of fart joke. So I love, I love little rat humor. I love it.
Indeed, I have one of
Yeah.
those, and it's my friend just I like recently, like when I did stand up in Daytona, I would that's like my homeroom, and I just start off with some new jokes, and then I like give it out to the comics. I'm like, all right, comics, which jokes do you want me to do? And they always want me to do my fart jokes, and I'm just like, this is just so much fun. So
I think,
I love
I think, I think those are the best because it's like, I'm doing it for you guys, but also it gives me so much joy to see the reaction and like it makes me laugh so hard while doing it even. And I think it just is so much fun. So yeah.
Indeed. I mean, farts sound funny, and then you apply a joke to it, it's even funnier. It's like it's good
And
stuff.
like there is a natural comedic timing. Like the natural inherent comedic timing to a fart is like so genius. Like yeah. Too funny.
Yep. And my dad just like farts at random times, whenever I see him, and I'm like, Dad, and even when I'm trying to eat, it's like, thanks a lot for that poof.
I was joking that like, the downside of like being around family all the time is that you learn all of their farts and as soon as you hear it, you know who it is.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always dad. It's like I remembered watching like Titanic with the family in the theaters, and then
Yeah.
like right when it's a sad part, my dad rips one, and it was a silent stinker, and it just made everyone's eyes watering.
Were they crying from the fart or from the scene? We
I
may
think it
never
was
know, right?
never know.
We may never know.
It was like a perfect storm.
Also, like I feel like if you were watching it and you're literally smelling someone else's butt, I feel like it would just be like really hard to try to. There would just be a lot of confusion, a lot of emotions, I think, going through.
It's like good grief, Dad. But that's like my favorite memory of Titanic. And even though it's a sad movie, it's like it made those 3 hours worth it. So,
Yeah. I gotta
and
say, I love the idea of getting older and not caring about
yep,
all of that. So I look forward to that.
indeed, most
Yeah.
definitely. And Sandy, what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
So I think about this a lot. And I think it has to do with the idea of like being like bicultural. Like I'm Asian, but also like born here. So I'm also American. So then there are these like kind of like ideals or, ideas of who people think I am before I even speak. So then I think about this a lot. Like, what kind of takeaways would I like? And so sometimes it's like I approach certain audiences like maybe this is the first time they're seeing an Asian person. Like maybe they don't have any Asian friends. So I'm like the starter Asian friend. So then I think about it like, okay, what kind of things would I like to share or what kind of ideas would I like to share if that's the case? And then there's also like maybe your whole friend group is Asian and all you know are Asians. And so then, okay, well, how is my perspective a little bit different from, other Asian people? Like, and I was describing a couple like different situations to my friend recently. It was like, in the Asian culture, you'd be so progressive, but in like American culture, that might be perceived as misogynistic. And so, like, there is this like weird dichotomy, this duality that I'm, you know, thinking about. And also, like, sometimes I'm like, I don't really care. A fart joke is a fart joke. And, maybe it's not ladylike in the Asian culture to share stuff like that. But to me, it's funny. So I have to share it. Um, but I guess that's a long way to say I hope people walk away laughing and having a good time. And if I am the first Asian person that they've like encountered in comedy, maybe like walk away with something to think about, like, oh, that's a different kind of perspective that I've never heard of. And then, um, if they are Asian, then like, oh, I don't have an Asian friend that does that kind of stuff or does kung fu or like has that kind of experience. And so, there are other cool Asian people out here. So those are the kind of things. Also, it's like sometimes I want to talk about like really heavy topics. And I think I'm still in the stage of like figuring out, okay, do I just go with the one liner or do I want to dissect this whole dissertation of like the way I think and my logic and, how I get there? So I'm still kind of figuring out all of that. Um, and I was thinking about this analogy of like, when you see rain, you can there it's all encompassing of like all five senses, but also like not only that, you see the impact rain has on other surfaces like immediately. And I was thinking about that like for stand up, like how can I see the impact of what I'm saying, like not only through laughter but like exposing other people to different ideas and different ways of thinking. And and at the end of the day, like we're all similar, like we have more similarities than differences. So like how do I kind of package all of that? So I think about all of that. I don't know if it comes out in my comedy, but I think I'm consciously thinking about it and trying to incorporate it.
Indeed, we have
Yeah.
we're like it's so awesome that we're like from one coast to another, but we're so similar. Like like I was like the first in my family, well, like the only one in my family would be born in the States, and like everyone else was born in Asia and stuff like that. It's like
Yeah.
and being like the only Asian person in my group of friends in like every single like a lot of people don't know what a Cambodian looks like, and they see me and they're like, oh, we never expected you to be Cambodian. It's like I get like
Yeah,
everything else under the sun. And it's
yeah,
like so it's pretty neat to blend in like a chameleon and like different like and no, and they'll never know until I tell them I'm actually Cambodian. It's like it's
right.
pretty neat. So
Yeah.
and then
But
sharing
also
the
it's like, yeah, managing all that.
indeed and seeing the way you see the world and then like you said, there's so many more similarities than there are differences in everyone's backgrounds. So it's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
Sandy, as you were nominated to be in the secret stand-ups, the stand-up speakeasy, the secret society of stand-up comics, they call it, the
Okay.
Prohibition, the Roaring Twenties. Which comics in Chicago and Los Angeles or in California would you like to see um, on a future episode of the stand-up speakeasy?
I love to see Jess Martinez on here. I love to see Maddie Silverstein, Becca Tam, and Janice Rodriguez. Yeah. Oh, and
Awesome.
Pratik. You said Pratik maybe. So
Yep.
hopefully Pratik is on here too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll need your help with some of their spellings of their names because sometimes I reach out to the wrong people and I feel so bad. So, but yeah,
I
I'll
got you.
uh, fantastic, awesome, Sandy. And so I'll reach out to all those fine folks, and I just love putting like every scene on the map with this, and hopefully I can put like everybody in Chicago on the map with this because we all need
Yeah.
to like comics need to band together and rise, and especially during these times.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
so I
so much
have
for putting this together. This is so
you're
cool.
very welcome. You're welcome,
Yeah.
Sandy. It means a lot that you're on the show, and I'm glad that I got to interview you and follow Sandy on Instagram and donate to her Venmo and donate to the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And all the information's on below too, so you're all that good stuff in the description box and all that good stuff. So, Sandy, are there any final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home?
No, I hope everyone's staying warm, especially if they're in Chicago and facing the polar vortex. I hope everyone's staying healthy. Love you.
Awesome, fantastic. And for until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining Sandy and myself on the Stand Up Speakeasy, and we'll see you next time on